Stop the FOMO. TV reviewers like me have been very impressed with TCL's 2025 lineup, especially the entry-level mini LED, the QM6K. But how does this TV compare to last year's QM7? Because you are so tempted to get the latest features that's only available on the TCL QM6K. You got FOMO. I get it. The question is, are these features worth the premium over the heavily discounted QM7, and the QM8 is also discounted, both currently cheaper than the launch price of the QM6K. Today, we go over those unique special features only found on the QM6K, not the QM7 nor the QM8, but there are things that the QM7 and QM8 do better than this year's model QM6K. What are those things? Well, it depends on your content. It depends how you watch TV. So let's dig in and find out which TV is best for you. Hey friends, want to upgrade to Windows 11 Pro but can't afford the official price of $199? How about $21 or Windows 10 for $16 with my discount code SF20? Thanks to our sponsor, Whokeys. Yes, Black Friday is here. Get an additional 30% off with my code SF20. Go to Whokeys.com, add Windows 11 Pro to your cart, apply my discount code SF20, and bam, only $21. Here's how we activate it. Go to your Whokeys account at the top right under User Center, click on My Purchased Orders, click on View Keys and Code. Click Get the Key. Copy the Windows 11 Pro key under Code Card. Then go to your system settings, scroll down and click Activation. Click Change Product Key, paste the key code, click Next, and you're done. So don't miss out on these amazing deals. Click on my links in the video description below. Let's get to it. The QM6K is all new for 2025 and launching at $999, whereas last year's QM7, my editor's choice, is currently $700 and the QM8 is also discounted down to $900. The question is the QM6K at launch worth the premium? So we're going to start with what makes the QM6K special, beginning with the biggest one of all. I think this new wide-angle viewing panel called HVA that's on the QM6K, amazing. It completely fixes the biggest problem with last year's QM7 and QM8. So when I say off-angle viewing, what do I mean? If you're standing in front of the TV, it looks awesome. But an LCD TV has a weakness. As you get off-angle, right, you're moving across the room, you're sitting on the far end of the couch, no longer directly in front of the TV, you're off angle, suddenly you lose contrast. You start to notice a blooming maybe, and the color starts to lose saturation. It's like, wait, what happened to my colorful reds and colorful blues? So off angle viewing is a challenge, and this is not unique to TCL. Any VA panel LCD TV, which is most LCD TVs that you find, off angle looks challenging. However, this year, the QM6K has this amazing HVA panel, which allows you to sit a bit off angle, and it still looks good. If you guys watch my review up here, you'll see how much I love that viewing angle. It looks suspiciously like the viewing angle that's improved on the Sony Bravia 9, a TV that's like $2,000 more expensive. So you got a premium feature right there. And for many people, this may be the game breaker, the deal breaker? No, the game changer. It's like I'm mixing metaphors. This is the reason why you get a QM6K. So for me, I would get the QM6K over the QM7 and the QM8 for this reason, and this is why I often do chores while I'm watching TV, right? So, the TV's there, but I'm walking over here, walking over there, I'm in the kitchen, the TV's in the living room, I'm always off angle, and I hate that kind of color shifting when I walk back and forth. Oh, it looks great. Oh, it's not so good, right? So with this technology on the QM6K, that doesn't happen. But if you're sitting directly in front of the TV, you're solo, then this feature is not really relevant to you. So let's move on to the second great feature on the QM6K, which is out-of-the-box skin tones. TCL in prior years, I've had TCL TVs in review for what, since 2019? They tend to push red, maybe magenta, a bit harder than reference. And even when you try to calibrate it, that part is very difficult to calibrate away. So the lips look a bit too red, or maybe the skin tones are a bit too peachy. And that bothers some people, right? Other people say, oh, it looks great, it looks very warm, but it's a bit too warm. And when the shadow detail, or rather the shadow scenes, right, gets darker and darker, that red really becomes obvious and now becomes annoying. And this is something that I've told TCL to fix. It appears they've addressed it this year with the QM6K. Now, it is a touch warmer than reference. Reference being my Bravia 9 comparison, right? So if you watch my live stream up here, or you watch my review, you'll notice that the Bravia 9 is not as warm as the TCL, but this warmth on the QM6K, it's definitely not spot on reference, but it's close enough and tolerable enough that I'm like, you know what? Definitely improvement over the QM7 and the QM8 last year, which was a bit too warm. So the QM6K out of the box skin tones is finally close enough. And for those of you that just watch a lot of movies with skin tones, right? Dramas and old TV shows and the like, spot on. And actually the old TV shows look nearly identical to the Bravia 9. It's more of the HDR scenes where they're pushing some of the colors a bit harder that you may notice if you have a reference monitor or like a Sony Bravia 9 next to it. You'll be saying, oh, yeah, I can tell it's a little bit warmer. But because it's not unpleasant, it doesn't look unnatural. So if you prefer natural skin tones, then I go with the QM6K, but the QM7 and QM8 is not terrible. It's just a little bit warmer out of the box. Now, if you plan to calibrate your TVs anyway, it may be a non-issue for you, but that's something to keep in mind. Now, the third biggie is for gamers. The QM6K native refresh rate is 144 Hertz. Then its VRR goes up to 288. Both the QM7 and the QM8 is limited to 144 VRR, and its native panel refresh is only 120. This doesn't affect console gamers. PS5, PS5 Pro, Xbox Series XS, you're fine, right? All three TVs will look great with consoles. This is more for the PC gamers pushing those frame rates, right? But ultimately, they're very similar if you haven't noticed. And here's the part that I think is more important. So if you wrap it up, which TV should I get? Let's base it on content. If you enjoy skin tones, right? You're watching dramas, you're very focused on the people, the expressions, the faces, QM6K nails it. And in that same situation, you might be walking around the room. You have to get the QM6K. The off angle is so much better than either the QM7 or QM8. Now, if you're sitting in front of the TV, you're mostly watching sports and news, and you need extra brightness, that's the weakness of the QM6K. It doesn't get as bright as the QM7 or the QM8. Now, it gets bright, just not quite as bright. So if you're watching in a normally lit room, they'll all look the same. But if you're in a brighter room, you need to push that sports or vivid mode a bit harder. The QM7 and QM8 can push a bit harder, with the QM8 probably pushing the hardest. So it can really cut through ambient light very well if you need it to. Most people, I don't think will need it. I think most people, the QM6K is bright enough, but then you have, speaking of brightness, HDR pop, specular highlights. So this is the weakness of the QM6K. I mean, it is their entry-level TV. If you need bright specular highlights that's finely resolved, more like the Bravia 9, the QM7 and QM8 does that very well, doing it almost as well as the Bravia 9. QM6K, not interested, right? It'll give you that pop, that brightness, but the pop is a little bit muted compared to the QM7. So for those who are like HDR enthusiasts, right? You love watching Jennifer Gallo stuff, right? You look for HDR content that really pops and punches you in the face. The QM7 will do it, and the QM8 will do it a little bit harder if that content rises to the level of 4,000 nits, like that movie Alpha. The QM8 gets closest to the Bravia 9 when it comes to resolving alpha to that specular highlight that's intended to be close to 4,000 nits. QM6K gives up the ghost. Like, come on, man, I'm an entry-level mini LED. What do you want from me, right? So the QM7 does that really well, and the QM8 does it slightly better. QM6K, it's all about skin tones and drama, right? But that's assuming you're directly on angle. If you go off angle, the QM7, QM8, you lose color and saturation anyway. What's the point? So if you need off angle and specular highlights, you're gonna have to wait for the QM7K or the QM8K, this year's 2025 TCL lineup. Oh, and before I forget, price. Okay, launch price is $999, but if you can wait until midsummer, end of summer, significant discounts on the QM6K, basically it will drop to close to what the QM7 is right now. So, $700-800, that'll probably be the price of the QM6K by the end of summer, approaching Black Friday, obviously. But given the global economy with that thing that starts with a T, who knows where that goes? So let me know, was this video helpful, or are you going to wait for the QM7K and the QM8K before you make your decision? Until next time, stop the FOMO.